morning, y'all. Okay, so I am back with another client horror story. I was watching a video this other girl had posted, and it reminded me of this appointment. I can't believe that I honestly forgot it. So we're gonna call this lady, I don't know, Jessica. And Jessica had booked an appointment. This was years ago. I want to say this was like 2010, like 2010, 2011. So during this time, like I've told my story before, but I was homeless and I had just got like back on my feet. I had just got an apartment and I was working at FedEx, but I was doing hair still on the side. And so I had a little studio apartment in West LA. I wouldn't say little, like the place was pretty big, but it wasn't like, it was big for like me in there by myself, just for context. So this lady, Jessica, she contacted me and she was saying that she wanted a weave for herself, a weave for her oldest daughter, and she had a 2-year-old at the time, and she wanted the 2-year-old's hair braided. And so, I was like, okay, fine. Everything was everything. We had, arranged, everything, the date and the time, and gave her the address and everything. Told her like, what she was gonna need, what to bring, etc., etc. So the day of the appointment comes, and she shows up. She shows up on time. Very nice lady. Let me just say that, like from beginning to end, she was very nice. And so I believe when we started, she was like, okay, so who do you want to start first? And I was like, of course, let's start the 2-year-old. So usually when clients come get their hair done, if there's more than one of them, if they bring children, it's just easier to get the children out the way. Especially the ones that are, more tender-headed, or, 2-year-olds are usually like, finicky. So the 2-year-old honestly was like the easiest one to deal with. What I ended up doing was I asked her, like, hey, are you okay with me having like some help? And she was like, oh yeah, no, that's not a problem. So one of my childhood best friend, she didn't live far from me, and I was like, hey, if you want to make like a couple of dollars, I actually need some help. I had a client that brought her daughter, and she has a baby, and the baby needs her hair braided. And she's like, okay, well, I don't know how to add in any hair. And I was like, no, you're not adding in any hair. You're just gonna braid her like regular, and then just add some beads at the end. Like, she already brought everything. And she's like, okay, cool. So she came in, she was, like, oh, okay. Spoke with the lady, met with the lady. I was like, this is my best friend. This is who's gonna braid the baby's hair. That way we're just not all sitting here all day. And she's like, okay, fine. So when she showed up, it was her, the little girl, her, the 2 little girls. So the baby was 2, the daughter was like 10, and then it was her. And then she had the baby daddy and her mother with her. Now, I've spoken in other videos about the fact that, like, I've not always been the best when it comes to setting boundaries. And so I was extremely overwhelmed by that. But I was like, you know what? Maybe she brought them for help. And honestly, they weren't a problem. Like, they didn't bother nothing. So it just was the fact that it was like, like 8 people in this itty bitty little space, whatever. So, like I said, so my best friend braided the baby, put the beads on the baby. That was fine. We didn't have any problems. I get ready to start the 10-year-old. And at first, I was like, okay, what are we doing on her again? And she was like, oh, I want to weave on her. And I was just like, why? Because it wasn't like, this child did not have any, like, issues. She didn't have any, I'm sorry, it's like a big, beautiful boat right here in front of me. And I'll just be like, when I see things like that, and it's attached to a motorhome. When I be seeing stuff like that, I'm like, look, okay, God, you're clearly showing it to me, because it's going to be mine in a little bit. So thank you. But anyway, so I started the little girl's hair. And the 10-year-old girl, when I started to braid her beehive, she started tripping. Because in my mind, I was just like, okay, maybe it's because this baby has so much hair, her mama don't want to deal with it. I was like, maybe that's why she's putting it away. Because honestly, from the looks of like the mom's hair, you could tell that like she just didn't do hair. Like, they had like long, thick, healthy hair, but you could just tell that doing hair was not her thing. So anyway, so I just, in my head, was just like, look, okay, I'm going to make sure that I cut this to a appropriate length. I want to make this little girl still look like she don't have a weave in. And we were going to do a full with like the circle closure, so that the mom wasn't trying to worry about, constantly flat ironing the hair or blending it or whatever, because this baby was 10. So I get to braiding her beehive, and I want to say I get like the first little wraparound braid. I get halfway through that first little braid, and she is like fidgeting. She's uncomfortable. And and I asked the mom, like, is she tender-headed? And she was like, yeah, a little bit, but you know, usually like after, she's like, this spot is like her tender spot. Once you get through that spot, she'll be fine. So I'm like, okay, no problem. And so the little girl, I guess when she realizes that like her antics are not working with her mother, she starts to like up the score. So she just goes from at first like fidgeting and saying that it hurts, and you know, I'm loosening up my grip, making sure that I'm not hurting her. And I'm telling you, then she started pulling that, like, you go to part the braid out and she's like dying. So I think I got the braid like wrapped around twice, and then the little girl was just like, mommy, this hurts. And she was like, you're okay, sweetie, like, you know, you'll be done in a little bit, you know, that mess. And the little girl was just like, mommy, I don't want this, like, it hurts. And so in the middle of that, of course, I stopped and I asked her, like, okay, like, I don't want your baby to be hurting, but what is it that you want me to do about this? Because, you know, like, we can always do something else. And so she was like, no, this is what I want, this is what we're gonna do. I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. So the more and more I braid, the more extra out this child is beginning to act. So now she's sliding down a chair. Now she's tripping out. And then I noticed that like she started talking to her mama real crazy. And so at some point she was just like, this hurts. You don't like me. You hate me. This is why you want me to go through all of this pain, because why would you let her do this to me? And I like stopped. And I looked at the mama and I said, look, I don't know what you guys have going on, but this is not how I work. You know, like, we could do something else. We don't have to do a weave, because if she's acting like this while I'm braiding it, what do you think she's going to act like when I start to sew the tracks on? If the braids to her are already tight. And so the mom was like, well, what do you suggest? I said, we have the weave hair here, so why don't we do like something cute, like something like two ponytails? Because mind you, in the back of my mind, I was still trying to make this an age appropriate hairstyle, whatever it was. So she was like, you know what, that's fine. So I take the braids down, and I proceed to press her out. While I'm pressing her out, her mother gets on the phone and her mom is talking to somebody, and the little girl is really invested in her mother's conversation. And she's like, oh, mommy, who are you talking to? And so her mom tells her like who it is. Mind you, being a black kid, all of this threw me off, but I digress. So she was like, who are you talking to? And her mom answers her and tells her who she's talking to. And she goes, oh, well, tell them that they owe me some money and they still ain't gave me my money yet. And I was just like, okay, not my business. So I continue to press her. So I want to say we get like halfway into the press. Now, let me back up and say that, like, once again, the grandmother, the dad, and the baby, they chilling. The little 2-year-old is already done by now. They are over there chilling, kicking it. The only issue that I really had, like, I don't have an issue with clients eating, like, you know, where they are, because if you guys are going to be here for some hours, like, you know, just don't make a mess is my biggest thing. Or like, if you do, you know, like, clean up after yourself. We're all grown. But the only issue that I really had was like, they went to McDonald's, which was like right on the corner where I was at. I was staying on like Crenshaw and Adams at the time. It's a McDonald's right there. And they brought the food back and they gave this baby barbecue sauce on my carpet. But she didn't even make a mess. I'm telling you, she was chilling. So the little girl is so busy moving around and fidgeting and in her mama business. And then the mama and the grandmama have a conversation. At some point, I think when the little girl was done, the 2-year-old was done, the baby daddy took the 2-year-old wherever he was going. So now it's just me. I think my best friend had left. The lady paid my best friend. So it was me, the little girl, and the grandmother. And so the mom and the grandma, while I'm doing the little girl's hair, the mom and the grandma are talking. And she's so invested in their conversation that she will not sit still, and she won't sit like in the direction that I have for her to sit. And so I told her, I said, sweetheart, I said, I have a press to come in your hair. I need you to sit still because I don't want to burn you. That baby turned around in the chair, looked me dead in the face and was like, you're not done yet? I said, actually, I am. I'm done. I looked at her mama and said, I'm finished. Her mom was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry for her behavior, yada, 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 yada. And I was just like, you know what? I said, I am going to, if you would like to come back tomorrow, I can do your weave tomorrow. But this, I don't do this. I can't do this. And she was like, no, I completely understand. I didn't know that she was going to act like this, yada, yada, yada. Now, sidebar. If your child is acting like this in public, I know she's worse in private. I can't speak for everybody, but in most black households, if we're going to show our asses, we know when we're in public, we know how to act a certain way. We know how to act when we're with other people or around other people. So if you're acting like this in public, around people that you don't know, and you're talking to grown folks in this manner, you got to be worse when you are at home. There's no way that your behavior is better at home. And just, you could tell like her mother was embarrassed. But I think that this was just a case of like her mama cannot control her child, and that's just what it was, you know. So what's it called? So she actually ended up, she did pay me for the little girl's hair, and I thanked her for that. And then she was like, you know, like if you're willing to, like, please give me your best friend's number. Like, she did such a great job with my baby. I would love to book her again. I'm like, cool, no problem. So the lady actually ended up hitting me up, and we rescheduled an appointment for the next day. And when she came back, you know, she apologized again, and I said, look, I said, I don't have, because at that time I didn't have children. I said, I don't have any kids yet, so I can't speak on how you're raising, how you're parenting your child. I said, but you are apologizing for her when in all reality, you know, you gotta apologize for yourself. This is your baby, you know. And I told her, I said, you know, there's not a lot of people that would have dealt with any of this. Like, you came in with like a group of 5 people. Not only did you come in with a group of 5, not once did you alert me and say, hey, you know, like, I need a little help, you know, it's me and them, and I can't really manage my 2-year-old by myself, you know, is it okay? You didn't ask me any of that. I said, your daughter was just beyond disrespectful. You know, like I said, I am more than willing to take you, but I can't do her. And she understood, you know, but it was just sad because the lady was sweet as pie. I don't know where this little girl came from. I honestly feel like, you know, you meet some of these parents and they're so afraid to parent their children that their kids take advantage because they know that they can. They're not even afraid of their children. And I'm not saying you gotta like beat your child or any of that, but like, you know, like my mama was such a gangster that my mama could give me a look and I'd be like, I'm just kidding. Even now at 32, like, I may crack a joke with my mom and I'll have to laugh so that she know it's a joke, so she know that, like, I'm not trying to test your gangster homegirl, you know. So I got plenty of more of these. I will definitely come back with more, but yeah, that was one of those. If you guys want to know why I don't allow any extra bodies at your appointment, y'all could think home.